As listeners, we want you to understand that the solution of business, tax, and legal issues depends on many factors, including local, state, and federal laws. Listeners' names and questions may be simulated. The show is not intended to offer business, tax, or legal advice, and Spiegel and Utrera PA, its attorneys, and Lawrence J. Spiegel recommend you seek legal advice from an attorney about your specific matter. AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. There are only two types of people, those in business and those who wish they were. Join Larry Spiegel, entrepreneur, author, and managing shareholder of Spiegel and Utrera PA, with host Joe Castello, as they tackle issues and challenges associated with starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business in today's highly competitive marketplace. It's time to start or expand your business today. And now, here's Larry Spiegel and Joe Castello.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AmeriLawyer Presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. I'm Joe Castello, once again joined by Larry Spiegel, the managing shareholder of Spiegel and Utrera PA. Larry, welcome back.
Well, Joe, thanks for having me back.
We've been answering people's questions, helping them start or expand their businesses in a world full of opportunity.
And there are lots of opportunities out there. Cut your way through it all and get your business going and make a fortune.
And make a fortune. Isn't that what everybody wants to do?
Absolutely.
They want to go out there, they want to start their business 6 months later, retire.
Well, I don't know about that.
Doesn't work that way.
Well, it usually takes a little longer than that.
For the people out there, Larry, you deal with business owners all the time on a daily basis. Is there anything, not that you know exactly what they're thinking, but I would imagine it's extremely fulfilling to come up with a concept, to work the concept, and to achieve success.
Well, I think it is, and that's why it's so popular, and people are starting businesses all the time and willing to take the gamble, as it were, to get their business going. Now, I'd also go back to point out this idea about becoming an overnight success in 6 months or whatever the case may be. I really don't think that is the essential goal. The real goal is to develop consistent cash flow. If you have consistent cash flow in your business, you're going to have a successful business. With that, you're going to be able to support yourself, your family, put your children through school, and do whatever you really want to do. Take nice vacations, have peace of mind, and so forth. So really, it's about developing something that gives you that consistent cash flow.
It starts out with perhaps a hobby or a passion, perhaps just a part-time business. While you're working for someone else, you can plant the seed that may ultimately grow and develop into that consistent cash flow.
Right, and don't forget that success leaves tracks. So your business model that you are going to be successful with is probably being utilized by somebody else right now in the town that you live in.
There's a lot of different things out there, and I think that's a great concept. People think, well, I got to come up with something totally unique, and that's absolutely false.
Right. Originality is highly overrated. The idea is really not to reinvent the wheel. All we're looking for is to replicate some other business idea that's being utilized out there successfully, and perhaps we can improve on it and do it even better and make even more money than they are.
Put your own personal spin or your own concept. Now, we're going to get into your questions. You got questions for Larry, radio show at AmeriLawyer.com. While you're there, feel free to bounce around the site. There's lots of great information there, Larry.
Well, thank you.
If you want to call in, 800-520-7600. Let's get right to our questions. First up.
Hi, guys. My name is Oscar. I have a small endeavor that I had a question about. I have a very limited advertising budget, and I wanted to know if there's a way I can judge what form of advertising will work best for my business. I thought you guys would be the people to ask. So anyway, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my question. I hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.
Yes. 3 words. Test, test, test. So whenever you're doing any kind of advertising, you start out with your idea, and you're going to have to make some investment in it because right within your question you said you had a budget. So you go ahead with something. It must be something that you can keep statistics on so that you can test it. I'm not sure what kind of advertising you're talking about, whether it's print, some other media, radio, TV. With anything that you do, you will be able to test it. And within a period of time, you could see what the results will be from your advertising. I'm not suggesting that it's necessarily a short-term plan, because most advertising does require some repetition. But if you have the statistics, you will know whether your advertising is working and how much of your sale price is advertising. I submit to you that businesses that are more likely to succeed will have more money to spend for advertising and promotion within their selling price.
So as much as you're tempted to buy some advertising and then go back to work on whatever your primary function is, it's pretty vital that you monitor the advertising and calculate what's working for you.
Well, I think it's a very fundamental concept of every business that you must have I hate to use the word again, successful lead generation program. So that's what we're talking about when we say advertising budget. We're really talking about some sort of lead generation program for our business. How do we get the people in the door, so to speak, to make the sale?
How do we do that?
You come up with your advertising that you want to do, and then you have to be sure that it's effective, and you have to measure that, and you measure it by testing, and you have to continue to test. Now, there's something called the Direct Marketing Association, and that's a group out there, but it's called the DMA. I highly recommend you take a look at them. They also put out a publication. I believe it comes out monthly, and there are many advertisers in that publication that can help you with advertising. And you will see that they are always talking about testing, rewriting, trying different methodologies for your business.
And if at first you don't succeed, try again. And we've spoken about it in the past. Sometimes you'll come across an ad in the paper. You've seen it for years and years. It's the same ad. Must be working if you continue to see it.
That's right. Success leaves tracks. Again, the lead generation system has got to be part of your basic business model. Because if you don't have it, you're not going to have any business. Every business has to have a lead generation system.
And your type of business dictates exactly how you're going to do it. My first thought is some of these online businesses.
You know, online there are different forms of advertising that you can do. But there's a tremendous, when we have this pay-for-click advertising, tremendous amount of fraud there. The advertiser is paying and paying and paying, and he doesn't know who's clicking on his ad. Is it a disgruntled ex-employee, a competitor, who knows what? So it's very problematic. And it's not something that has yet to be addressed in any way, shape, or form. But there's some very large companies out there, we all know who they are, selling pay-for-click advertising, and they just keep making more and more and more money.
That's their business model.
At whose expense?
At our expense.
Because I'm not sure those businesses that are paying for that are getting more and more and more customers. But that's another issue, and that's why you must test. You could certainly get results from online advertising, whether it's pay-per-click or other types of ads. But, again, you must monitor it. You have to test it and see what your results are. What's your cost per lead? That's what we're coming down to.
If the listeners are anything like me, the idea that disgruntled former employees and competitors are clicking on our advertising just to cost us money and not deliver us the leads, that's a little shocking, and yet I would imagine it happens.
Well, I'm sure it's going on every day, a lot of it.
More of your questions when we return right here on AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today.
Start or expand your business today.
There are some mistakes in business that may cause the occasional headache. Then there are some mistakes in business that may keep you up all night for weeks and months at a time. Avoid those mistakes by seeking strategic business and legal advice from a team of attorneys ready to help you. Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club can assist you with the tough legal and business questions at crucial times. Call toll-free 800-734-9900 to receive your annual membership and be entitled to get unlimited strategic business and legal advice for a year. The General Counsel Club can assist with how to buy or sell business, converting hobby expenses into legitimate business expenses. What are legitimate business expenses for tax purposes? Tips on leasing a business location, whether for retail, office, warehouse, or industrial. Leasing versus buying options for vehicles and equipment. IRS examinations, audits, liens, levies, deficiencies, and settlements of tax disputes. Knowledge is power, and knowing that Spiegel and Utrera PA's General Counsel Club is one phone call away may give you the confidence to succeed during the day and rest well at night. Call 800-734-9900 or log on to AmeriLawyer.com today.
Got a question about starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business? Email radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Listeners' questions may air on episodes of AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business today. That's radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Now back to Start or Expand Your Business today.
Welcome back to Start or Expand Your Business today. Joe Castello along with Larry Spiegel taking your questions about starting or expanding your business. And we talk a lot about starting your business, Larry, because we want everyone to pursue their dreams, come up with that cash flow that will enable them to do whatever they want to do, start a business, take a vacation, whatever. But expanding current businesses are a big part of it, too. There's a lot that goes on there as well.
Well, we see numerous situations where businesses will just languish for years because of the owner, and that was his aspiration at that time. That's the way he operated. A new family member comes in and ignites the business, and it grows by leaps and bounds. So it could very well be that the existing owner is not really that desirous of expanding his business, but maybe some fresh blood would be. Now, I mention this because if you're looking to start a business, it might be a good idea to try to find a business that's for sale, or a business that has been around for a long time, but the owner is not actively trying to sell the business. And maybe you come up with some sort of an offer to him where you go agree to work at the business, and then if you all get along, you're going to be able to buy the business from him. Because a lot of these owners are very attached to their businesses. It's not that easy for them to let go. But there are opportunities out there, particularly now because of the economy. Many business owners had success for many years, and now they find themselves not liking what they're doing. They're not making as much money. It's different than it was before, and these are candidates to be purchased. And there's many opportunities out there for somebody that's savvy and is willing to go out and try to find that business and purchase it.
Plus, at some point, people as successful as they have been, they decide, I want to retire. I don't want to work anymore. I've built this great thing. They're not just going to close the doors, and there's opportunity there.
There is. This is a more typical opportunity where someone decides and then maybe lists his business for sale or tries to sell it. But there are opportunities out there where the businesses are not listed for sale, and yet these people they're candidates to be purchased.
Very interesting things. We got more questions. Kind of in the realm of what we're talking about, Walter has a question. I have a small retail store, and I'm in the process of closing my business because of lack of sales in the current economic downturn. I have some outstanding balances on a couple of my business credit cards and a company credit line. The total's about $40,000. I really don't have the money to pay these off. My question is there a way for me to avoid paying these bills by doing a business bankruptcy or something without it affecting my personal credit, says Walter?
Well, Walter, it's a difficult situation because I'm going to assume that you're personally liable on the business credit card. There are some out there where you wouldn't be, but generally speaking, you'd be personally liable. And then on the company credit line, there's no question there that you're going to be personally liable because at the bank they made you sign a personal guarantee. When anybody's contemplating business bankruptcy, the first thing we want to look at is, well, what personal guarantees are there out there? And what would you be responsible for, regardless as to whether or not the business filed bankruptcy? So here, it looks to me like you'd still be responsible for everything. Therefore, just based on the information you provided, I don't think there'd be any benefit at all to file business bankruptcy. You're still going to be personally liable on these debts. Now, I don't think that the indebtedness of $40,000 is a lot of money, and it's not something that an entrepreneur cannot overcome. I don't like the idea ever of an entrepreneur filing bankruptcy, personally, because we see these questions over and over again, And the question is, have you ever filed bankruptcy? These appear on various applications. They don't say in the past 10 years. They don't say 20 or 30 or 40 years. They say ever. That's a big problem. So the entrepreneur should avoid personal bankruptcy at all costs. I think more of what we would have to do here with Walter is look at his situation and try to help him modify his business plan so, in fact, he does stay in business and does work towards repaying this debt. What I was thinking about was repaying the debt from the business, of course. As part of the program, we could work out an arrangement with the creditors and to pay it off over time. Now, what I'm also thinking about is his business model may drastically change. Instead of selling whatever he's selling now, maybe he's going to start selling something else. Or maybe he's going to enter a service business. But I think that would be much better than having this noose around his neck. Have you ever filed bankruptcy over the $40,000? Because it's not that much money.
Years ago, it was a really negative thing to have filed bankruptcy, but nowadays you hear the word so often, people filing for bankruptcy left and right, but that doesn't change the fact that you just referred to it as a noose. It's an extremely negative thing.
It is. To an entrepreneur, for sure. Now, I'm not speaking about the regular individual out there who, for whatever reason, had to file personal bankruptcy. But no matter what the reason is, if you're an entrepreneur and you file, it's a problem, and it'll be a problem for you for quite some time, forever. Having said that, there's a number of people who have filed bankruptcy over the years that we dismiss it. One is Walt Disney. He filed bankruptcy, and it didn't really seem to affect him in the end. For any one of these rules or ideas, there's always the exception out there. I don't think that that's enough of an exception to where we could just dismiss it out of hand, as if you would say, oh, it's popularized today, it's okay, everybody accepts it. Well, they don't. So we have to be very careful with some of these issues. And we do see people all the time in the General Counsel Club who think that filing bankruptcy will solve their problems. People, by and large, are looking for the quick fix. They want to resolve whatever the problem is. They need the solution now so that they can move forward, as if some great thing is going to happen. If you file bankruptcy, you're going to get a fresh start. And in truth, that's what happens, but there's a lot of baggage there, too. And it's not advisable for an entrepreneur. And then there will be people that will say to me, but Mr. Spiegel, I owe $400,000. Well, I'll say, well, what are they doing to try to collect it from you? Well, they're not doing anything. I'll say, well, then there's no reason to do anything. Because if they're trying to do something, then we would address that something at that time. What are they trying to do? And then we would deal with that issue at that time. And I'm not suggesting that this person's life would turn around so that he would have $400,000 to pay them off. But guess what? If you win the lottery today, you go to the lottery office to collect, it takes about a half hour to an hour. What are they doing? They're checking to see if you owe any money to the state. And if you owe the state any money, they're going to deduct it from your lottery proceeds. That's a lien on that you have. So, Walter, that's my best take on it. It does not lend itself to an easy response.
Walter, thanks for your question. Best of luck to you. I'll tell you what, I think right there, a lot of people out there listening just got a lot of great advice, because bankruptcy has been normalized. People think, I'll just write it off, be gone, I'll start fresh. And I think you cleared things up for a lot of people.
Well, Joe, one of the things we want to do in business is to avoid giving personal guarantees. This is the one thing we want to be very careful about. Because remember, we set up a corporation, we set up a limited liability company, and the reason we're doing it is to limit our own personal liability. Now, we're not going to turn around and give a personal guarantee on a lease, a personal guarantee on the trade debt of the company, or anything else for that matter. So we want to fight that tooth and nail and be aware of it. We see these things all the time, and we're counseling about them. Unfortunately, the people have already signed the personal guarantees, typically, when they come to us. There are ways around personal guarantees, and I want people to understand that in the beginning. They can be negotiated. They're negotiated as to their duration, how long is that guarantee for, and how much is it for. But yet, invariably, we see people giving unlimited personal guarantees. There's no need to do that. They can always be negotiated. And there's always a set of fundamental principles involved with every transaction that allows you to rationalize with the other party why the guarantee needs to be limited. For example, in a lease situation, you're leasing a storefront or an office. The landlord is going to spend $1,200 to put you in there because he's going to do improvements for you. Well, guess what? That's the amount of the personal guarantee. If you want to be benevolent and give him something, oh, and that's only good for 3 months because the rent is like $600 a month. I've already passed the $1,200 after 3 months. So there are different ways to approach every personal guarantee, but it has to be thought out and it has to be negotiated. Many times you can't do your own negotiation. You need a lawyer to do that, and we'll help you with that also.
He's Larry Spiegel. I'm Joe Castello. We'll be back with more of your questions right here on Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com.
Start or expand your business today. Form your corporation for as little as $104.95. Each corporation is complete and includes state filing fees, corporation records book, corporate seal, articles of incorporation, corporate bylaws, corporate minutes, stock certificates, preliminary name search, and attorney's fees. Spiegel and Utrera PA and AmeriLawyer.com can also help you with assumed or fictitious business names, advising on legitimate business expenses for tax purposes, discussing the converting of personal expenses into deductible business expenses, assisting you in developing a service agreement for your business, answering your questions on the advantages of minority-owned business certification, explaining the differences between a corporation and a limited liability company, and the benefits of creating either a regular corporation, S corporation, or a limited liability company. Knowledge is power. Order over the phone at 800-603-3900. That's 800-603-3900 or online at AmeriLawyer.com.
Got a question about starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business? Call 800-520-7600. Just leave your name and your question. Listeners' questions may air on episodes of AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. That's 800-520-7600. Now back to Start or Expand Your Business Today.
Welcome back to AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. Joe Castello and Larry Spiegel talking about your business, how to get you into business, or how to expand your business. So much opportunity out there, Larry. We're getting questions from people out there, and I'm surprised there's all different challenges that they're facing.
Absolutely, every day. We're getting calls every day, and no two calls are the same, and they're not usually about the same issues either.
We got more questions. You ready, Larry?
Go ahead.
Hey, guys. My name is Mark, and I'm just calling to let you guys know that I'm really enjoying the show. I think it's great. And besides that, I've also got a question for you guys. I think my wife and I are doing everything we should be doing financially as far as 401ks, IRAs. We have life insurance. We own our house with a mortgage and a decent amount of savings in the bank. But recently we just had our very first child, and I realized that I don't have any way of ensuring that, God forbid, should anything happen to us, that all of our assets get passed down to him. So I wanted to know what's the best way to go about doing that, making sure that I can go ahead and get that set up so that, once again, if something was to happen to either one of us, that he, everything we own would go down to him. So thanks for your time, and I appreciate it. Bye.
Well, Mark, the solution to the problem is to set up either two individual, what we call living trusts or revocable trusts, or a joint living trust or joint revocable trust with your wife. And then you would transfer your assets into that trust. The trust will allow for disposition of the income of the trust during your lifetimes, and also the dispositiveness of the assets upon either or both of your deaths. So what a trust does, it takes the assets, title to the assets, and then within the trust, your intentions are followed and they're completed. And by the way, the trust is very private. It's not recorded anywhere generally. It bypasses probate, which is another plus. So upon your demise, you don't have the probate expenses. Now, the most important thing about the trust is that it be properly funded. Properly funded meaning that these assets that we're talking about are transferred into the trust. The ownership of your corporation, it would be owned by the trust. Your home would be transferred into the trust. The trust would own it It generally doesn't change anything as far as your property tax exemptions or anything like that, because they have provisions in the law for the exceptions that relate to these sort of trusts.
I've heard of wills. Is a will and a trust two different things?
They are. A will is something that is effective upon your death. A will goes to the county courthouse, and it's entered into what they call probate. An estate is then opened. That estate is under the jurisdiction of a court, and your assets are administered after your death pursuant to your will. Now, you may die without a will. Your assets would be administered without a will, whereas a state statute would tell the court how those assets are to be distributed. When you have the trust is not a probate asset, so all those assets in the trust avoid probate. We're not saying or suggesting that if you have a trust you wouldn't have a will. The reason a person may have a will is because they forgot or intentionally did not place an asset in the trust, and they want to be sure who's going to receive that. So they'd have a will for that purpose.
So it's advantageous potentially to have both.
Anybody that has a well-executed estate plan has both.
The average person out there who's saying to themselves, yeah, I got a job, I'm a regular guy, I don't have an estate. Does everybody need a trust?
Well, in Mark's question, Mark said he had life insurance, but he didn't tell us how much. Life insurance is an asset that's included in your estate for estate tax purposes. Depending upon the exemption at any given time, and there's been no exemption, and then there was an exemption, so you would check with your estate lawyer or a lawyer familiar with this as to what the exemption might be at the particular time you're talking to them. If you had a life insurance policy for $100,000 or $1 million, that would be includable in your gross estate for estate tax purposes. Even a person of limited means could die and leave a large estate because of insurance. Now, there's another way around this also, and it's called, what we call them, a life insurance trust. Allow your life insurance trust to purchase your life insurance policy, and it will not be included in your gross estate for tax purposes. And it's a big deal, because if you have a client who's got life insurance for $5 million, that's a big thing. If that's going to end up at his estate, they're going to pay a lot of tax on that. If the life insurance trust owns it, it does not go into the estate if everything has been done properly. And yet the beneficiaries still receive the $5 million, and there's no tax to the decedent's estate. But he must have a life insurance trust. It's very important. As a matter of fact, we're constantly counseling clients on establishing this revocable trust at the time they set up their corporation or limited liability company, so it has the ownership of the entity right from the beginning. Some are doing it, others don't do it. They don't realize. We do get many questions after the fact because of the way life is. People do eventually pass away. They look for a methodology of how to pass that business on to somebody else. And the best way to do it is through the trust. And by the way, you're not limited to one trust. You can have a number of trusts. So you could have a trust set up solely to own this business that you have. But don't misunderstand me. It's not to own the business. It's to own your shares of stock of the corporation or your membership interest in the limited liability company. Because we would not encourage you to operate the business directly with the trust. Again, there's too much liability at stake there.
Once again, Mark, great question getting into it here. Larry, great job today. To you listeners out there, some great questions. If you'd like to submit a question, radioshow@amerilawyer.com. That's a radioshow@amerilawyer.com. Or you can call the call-in line, 800-520-7600. Larry, thank you very much once again. Can't wait till next time.
All right, Joe. Thank you. Plan your work and work your plan.
He's Larry Spiegel. I'm Joe Castello, and this is Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com, where understanding your business is our business.
There are some mistakes in business that may cause the occasional headache. Then there are some mistakes in business that may keep you up all night for weeks and months at a time. Avoid those mistakes by seeking strategic business and legal advice from a team of attorneys ready to help you. Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club can assist you with the tough legal and business questions at crucial times. Call toll-free 800-734-9900 to receive your annual membership and be entitled to get unlimited strategic business and legal advice for a year. The General Counsel Club can assist with selecting a legal and tax structure for your business, building business credit, when a trust should own your corporation or limited liability company. What are the benefits of forming a corporation or limited liability company? What are the differences between a corporation and limited liability company? Using employees versus independent contractors. Knowledge is power, and knowing that Spiegel and Utrera PA's General Counsel Club is one phone call away may give you the confidence to succeed during the day and rest well at night. Call 800-734-9900 or log on to AmeriLawyer.com today.